I'm Lucas Stidham, Senior Director of Learning and Development at Living Spaces. I've been with the company over 12 years, and I spend a lot of time in scenes like this, in front of classes, in person or virtual, behind computers. I also help with new store opening projects and other fun and exciting things. You'll see me cutting the ribbon there for a new store. So a little bit about me professionally. I have a team of instructional designers and content writers, facilitators, analysts, and so forth. And I do a lot of stuff in the field. Joey,
Hey,
tell me more about
everybody.
yourself.
So glad to be on here with you. Thanks, Lucas. Appreciate it. Learning Development Manager for the supply chain for Living Spaces. So I've been doing this for a little while. In total, almost 8 years with Living Spaces and almost 15 years with the learning development side of things. So I oversee the supply chain with the equipment, machines, heavy machinery and stuff, safety and things like that. So we're glad to be here. Turn it back over to you, Lucas. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Joey. Well, you're probably wondering who Living Spaces is, so we have some great statistics in a short video for you. We are a big box furniture retailer, mostly in the Southwest United States, where we have 41 brick and mortar locations, 13 warehouses in 8 states and counting. But I always get this question: do you deliver to Minnesota? Do you deliver to Canada? Do you deliver to Washington, D.C.? We deliver to the lower 48 states from our website for e-commerce. So website, livingspaces.com. Our focus today is on supply chain. Joey's group. Joey has an intense focus on supply chain. So let's talk about what that means for us. There's several problems that we've had in our warehousing operations. And the first is more of a safety compliance culture versus compliance attitude versus a safety culture. So we want to change the narrative around just having compliance be check the box. It's a poster on the wall. It's something different to something that is alive, that's interactive, that people are looking forward to, that they are excited about. And doing that's not easy, as you know. So we're going to work on that. We've also had undesirable turnover. People pack up and leave without, telling us very much why they're leaving. We're losing some of our best people to other competitors and other things. So we wanted to get a handle on that. And we wanted to address some outdated onboarding practices. It's tough in a warehouse environment to think innovation and automation, but we are doing that. And instead of some old school practices where people just sit there and have side by sides all the time, and it's just very tribal learning culture, where we want to get something more engaging, interactive, that we have line of sight to. So we have 3 initiatives that we're working on. The first is reducing accidents. And again, this is the business problem that we're into. Improving our safety culture, focusing on the hot topics and safety, and improving our tracking for learning and incidents. Reducing turnover, modernizing our onboarding experience, creating user-generated content and bite-sized content that can be approachable and spaced out over time. And then we want to reduce our time to proficiency. Onboarding can be very expensive and lengthy. So we want to utilize our peer trainer network, get them nice and pumped up with resources and competence, improve the tracking system, as well as adding reinforcement opportunities. Our solution, hopefully I don't freeze here. Oh no. Try one more time. There we go. Our solution for improving warehouse culture includes, first, giving the SMEs the tool. That's our first step. We're going to give them content authoring tool. Yes, it's scary. They used it, they abused it, but they loved it. Second, we needed to convert some binders. So they had a lot of binders in their training program for onboarding, and boy, do we hate that. So we said we got to reduce that, convert that to microlearning, redesign your learning path, and introduce mobile options. And
Lucas,
then
sorry to interrupt you.
reinforcement.
Not seeing your screen.
Oh, you're not seeing it? Shoot.
No.
Let me try again. Sorry. We'll get it going. Like I said, it doesn't like the YouTube thing.
Yeah.
How's that?
It's coming. There it is.
There it is. Okay.
Yeah.
So I was at reinforcement, right? So safety hot topics through mobile, leadership stand-up meetings, evaluation is next, collecting usage data, gathering feedback, and then of course celebrating the wins. All of this is part of the plan, and we're at various stages. So I'll kind of let Joey speak a little bit more about what happened and what's going on with. We gave them the tool and they used it and abused it. Joey, tell us more.
Yeah, sounds good, Lucas. Yeah, the previous slide talked about the binders. You remember those days? I was telling some of my peers, I said, hey, 1980s call, they want their binders back. They're still using it in the warehouses right now. So that's what we're doing. We're recognizing there are some tools that work. Of course, the binders work, right? But we have so many tools, so many different ways, technologies now that we can access a lot of those things. And can you imagine being in the supply chain side of things? You're not supposed to use your phone. You don't have your tablets on the floor because of the safety issues. So what happens? We need to find a way to educate our new hires, for example, or some of the people who are just trying to learn a certain procedure and processes. So that's what we're doing. We're utilizing microlearning bite size to be able to teach our associates, some of the procedures and processes. We created SOPs, we created all of those things. We turned one pager SOPs into microlearning. So pretty cool stuff. Lucas, go ahead and proceed from there, please.
Yeah, of course. And again, when we gave them the tool, of course, they gave us words on a page, right? They gave us that they've tried to recreate the documents, but we hung in with them, and then eventually we saw that they were using some engagement features and they were starting to build video content and having more fun with it. They just needed to get a little bit used to it.
Yeah.
They did love it. And then this is our ceremonial burning of binders using AI because we can't have a real fire. But we were saying we're going to get rid of these things. There should be no reason that we maintain this library of binders that everybody needs to carry around and be so clunky with. I think Joey's words were, we need to bring this out of the 1980s. Here's an example. I'm going to not play the whole thing. I'm just going to play a sample of some micro learning that we've created in-house with us on a safety topic such as blades. See if you like it. It's not made with 7-taps. We used our own other authoring tools for this, but it does live in a video format.
We've all seen it multiple times, a piece of furniture fresh off a truck, right for the picking. But there's one problem. It's stuck inside some sort of packaging that is nearly impossible to penetrate by hand. Don't let the proper packaging get in the way of doing your job. Then you can overcome this obstacle by carefully using a blade. Used in the right manner, following all safety guidelines, a blade can help you easily open just about any packaged furniture you'll ever come across. To expose the cutting edge, simply use the thumb slide by pushing it forward toward the front of the blade. Our blade uses an auto-retract mechanism that allows the exposed blade to retract back into the housing once it senses there is no more pressure. This amazing feature helps to safeguard against accidental cuts. Blade edge should always be retracted when not in use. When ready to cut, extend the blade edge enough to only penetrate the thickness of the intended material. This can improve cutting leverage as well as prevent damage to the item being unpacked. And when your blade edge gets dull from all the furniture you've opened, it's a snap to replace it with a new one. Simply move the blade change switch from its locked position, replace the old blade with the new one, and move the change switch back to its locked position. It's really that easy. Use blade should always be properly discarded using blade to flow to the subject.
Yeah, I was thinking some people were having some low audio on that one. Apologize for that, but I think you get the point. Just some really fast, fun, easy content with a light theme, but important. Again, we don't want people being injured. And so we wanted to make sure that the content was very clear and it's being well received. We also wanted to say no more offline checkboxes, right? So we've got all these pages and things people were filling out. We're building new learning paths in our LMS. They have lots of content for our team members to engage with, and the checklist is still there online, but at least it's it's an engagement platform, right? And that's something that we're currently working on. But we are always building and evaluating and, needing feedback from the field. So Joey, what else would you like to say about this project and what you're working on?
Yeah, you guys, it's obviously bite-sized training is like an awareness, right? The video that you just saw is a key to what we're doing. Where Lucas showed a picture of him cutting a ribbon. We're opening stores all the time, and what we did was we created a 4-minute microlearning, and it talks about 3 different topics, safety topics, and we sent it out to the store manager, and they had 75 people take it before they start moving product around. These things are very important to us, the awareness before we start moving 500 pieces of furniture around. You can imagine moving 300-pound sofas and cutting a bunch of boxes. So incidents can happen. And knock on wood, if there's any wood around me right now, we didn't have any incidents or accidents opening up that store. So fantastic work. Just something like that would definitely change our outlook.
Really great, Joey. And I know that we've approached our time limit here, so we've got our LinkedIn pages there if you want to join us, but certainly entertaining questions. And I see some chats coming through that are reaffirming or questioning what we're working on, but happy to answer questions.
Cool. This was super fun. And by the way, I love the video. It took me back to Billy Banks.
Yes. We wanted we've got, the Gen X crowd you can always please with some throwbacks to the 80s.
Are you tired of
Right.
I love that. I love that. So so one of the questions that came through that got upvoted the most that I thought was great was so in terms of making that kind of transition, because it's one thing to say we want to go from binders to something different. And everybody kind of at first will nod their heads and go, yeah, I agree. Yeah, we hate those things. And then you go, okay, so we're going to do it, right? And they're like, well, I mean, so how did you get the buy-in? Like, how did you go about influencing others? Because I'm guessing that wasn't a decision you could make in a vacuum.
No, Chris, it's interesting how you asked that question, because even to today, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, how do we accomplish that? We have about 40 microlearnings created already. Okay. And so we're obviously it's a parallel program with the training that we have, plus the microlearnings that we have. There's a QA team of 6 people in the DC distribution center side, and I've been partnering up with them as an L&D team with them for the last 8 months, and they said, look at all the binders we have, look at all the SOPs we got. And I'm thinking, wow, okay, let's change that, right? So the nice thing about it is that they're all willing to change. And 7 Taps was so simple for us to utilize. So I gave them some accounts and they just ran with it. And they created a bunch of videos utilizing a bunch of different, using their cell phones and stuff, and plug it into 7 Taps and sent it to us, and we evaluated it and gave some feedback and modified it. And now we have like 40 courses. Fantastic.
Cool.
Yeah, that was the key. Yeah. Giving them the tool, have them buy in at how easy and simple it was and we don't have to have the binders. We can actually do something more digital and accessible on mobile.
Yeah.
The mobile fight's actually pretty big in the warehouse. So that's one we're really working on.
Okay. Well, and I love how you talked about the shift, which was really getting user generated content, like incorporating that as a big part of the strategy, instead of going, no, we're gonna be the one who kind of creates this behind closed doors, to saying, no, we want to include you, but it didn't make you irrelevant. It just changed the role you played. It was like, well, now you're doing this, we're forming, we're reshaping, we're kind of refining it, because I'm sure you got some that were like, oh yeah, that we're probably not gonna use that as
designer has a lot of comments about some of the things they're doing. And again, it's a process for everyone to learn what feedback is going to look like, what iteration is going to look like, what are we going to live with, what are we not going to live with. So we had to boundaries there.
Yeah. And so figuring out what are those guardrails you put in place and go like, it's got to be within this, but we also can't get hung up on every little detail, because otherwise people will quickly go, you know what, forget it. Like if you're going to be this picky, then do it yourself, type of a thing. I love that. So I'm guessing you have a lot of folks, some of the questions that came in, you've got a lot of folks who, probably are not sitting in an office behind a desk, all these other things. So 2 questions with that. one, how do you handle that, in terms of like the actual deployment, like all of that? And then do you run into any hiccups with that? Like in terms of, I know there can be things about, accessing things on company devices and all this other stuff that it can get complicated really quick. How have you threaded that needle?
Yeah, because like I said, we're doing a parallel program, so all these micro learnings are embedded into our LMS system.
Okay.
So there's the onboarding program obviously has things, checklists of things that Lucas was showing in one of the slides that the new hires are supposed to go through. And
Okay.
some of those are the e-learning or the micro learnings. So if they go through, instead of those days when we have like the 30-minute courses that they sit for a while and they multiply that by 7 times and you're there for 2 or 3 hours. Now we have micro learnings that we can do 3 or 4 of them, and we're only going to hit 15 minutes in total, and now they can walk away. What I was trying to do is make sure that the stakeholders, the managers on the floor understands that, hey, what I'm trying to do is really focus on the peer training side of things, get them on the floor, learning it on the spot, on the job, rather than being in front of the computer. So that's why we embrace microlearning so much, is that it reduces the time that they have to sit in front of the computer. Yep. A lot of times we walk away, they're like, I don't know what I just learned, right? So basically what we're trying to get them to do is
they passed the test, but it didn't do anything for them. Because it was like, by the time I got out of my chair, I don't remember it anyway.
We're working on the mobile strategy with them. It's a work in process. We've got it. Once again, we built the content, built the library, make it relevant in the LMS, the learning path. Then accessing things can be the next conversation, and how we make it accessible to them in a meaningful way. And they'll iterate too, give them a tablet and a peer trainer a tablet, and they'll figure out how to go through it with them.
Okay. Well, and I love that kind of adaptive strategy where it's like, here's where we are now. We're not saying it's done, which I don't think anything that we ever do in this industry is ever done. It's like, well, we are here, and then we'll go here, and then we'll continue evolving it. And I think that's a great way to approach it, because I think sometimes we kill ourselves when we go, okay, we got to get it all right, perfect the first time. And you're like, well, then we're not going to get to anything. So what can we accomplish? How do we move it forward? And then what do we learn, and how do we keep going? I love that.
Perfection's the enemy of done.
That is absolutely true. And finding that needle of what is the right level, because you can't just throw caution to the wind, is, it's a balancing act.